Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of Delta Sparks Pod. As always, that's Dewey, I'm Evan, and we are here to talk about absolutely nothing.
And everything.
And everything. Well, everything turns into nothing, which then recycles back into everything.
Yeah.
So, Season 2, Episode 1, can you freaking believe it? I mean, I know we made it up, so like... It's not like, oh my god, they made it that far. We're just like, yo, we need a 3-week vacation. Like,
yeah, we gotta step off here for a hot sec.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been?
I've been okay. Studying for the home inspector's exam that I failed on Monday. But like I told you before, I was planning on failing it, not on purpose. But I haven't taken a test or studied for anything since at least 2006, and I think I'm being generous with that date.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't know where I was lacking in terms of what I was missing, because you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Yeah.
So I kept studying material over and over and over again, just equal amounts, because every practice test I did, didn't really give me a good reading. So failing the test allowed me to get a printout to see how I did on all the, I think it's like 15 or 20 different sections.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to readjust over the next, few weeks, because I got to wait a month to take it again. And we'll just focus on that shit. How about you?
Yeah, well, podcast by failures for failures. Until you're not a failure anymore. Hopefully soon.
Or dead.
Yeah, or dead, or you die.
Either or. I mean, maybe death is winning.
Really? Yeah, I guess.
You're just like, fuck you. Or winning. Yeah. Yeah. When someone's like, I'll see you in hell, and he's like, not if I see you there first. Because I'm going to be there ready. What's going on with you?
Not a heck of a lot. Work's been pretty slow.
Yeah.
It's not really much going on. It's hot. It's hot as hell here.
Yeah.
Probably same for you.
Quite moist down here too. I got groomed today, by the way.
Ooh.
This earlier this morning looked like quite the Jew bush.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. Last week I went for my first haircut in probably close to 2 years. And I told her, I was like,
David.
Yeah.
Sinead O'Connor. Let's do it. Let's take a little bit of this, put it right here, just so I can twist the ends a little wax.
Yeah, exactly. I want to look dignified, so. No, I told her, I said, let's try and keep it as long as we can, and she ended up still taking off like 6-7 inches.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it was time. So my hair is like just past my shoulders now. But yeah, it was needed in a bad way.
Yeah. Self-care is important. Also, just looking not fuckable is helpful too.
Yeah. Well, it's so hot. I'm like, don't touch me. Nobody. Get away from me. You're standing
unless you're coming at me with a cold compress, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's like the civil war all over again. Unless you got morphine or a cold compress.
Yeah.
Speaking of, tenets of medical persuasion, we've been talking, you and me, about kind of revealing more behind the curtain of who is we, how does we feel, what does we think, and there's been some stuff that you and me have definitely held back on.
Oh yeah.
Not just here on the podcast, but on social media and in just in outward life, in some ways, shapes, or forms. We've been reserved because who dares rock the boat,
Yep.
And I'll be honest for myself, and I'll speak for myself on this one. I was afraid of losing followers for saying not saying how I feel so much as like when people assume I think a certain way or I believe certain things, and then they just flood my inbox with propaganda and videos and stuff.
Well,
I feel
that's the stuff I have no time for.
Yeah, it's like, how do you tell them, sorry, I don't subscribe to the same channels that you do and everything.
the same beliefs and
like
That's
politics is one thing.
yeah.
I think politics is one thing. And we're not here to talk politics. That was our motto from the get-go. No politics, no religion. Okay? But how have we gone from a pretty peaceful time, all things considered? I mean, in terms of like the lesser majority on either side. I don't know how it is up in Canada, but down here in the US, like there's fractional margins of the conservative or right side, and then the same thing for the liberal, left side. The fractions of the over the toppers, I'll call them. Okay, I'll call them the political vegans, because you know how you've never. Oh God, pineapple. Shit. You know how you've never met a vegan without knowing it, because they always like, yeah, I'm vegan. Just throw it in your face. So,
well,
political vegans. So.
Until we get through a whole podcast before you ask somebody about who was it? Oh, it was this will come back to me. Keep going.
All right, we'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
But I call them political vegans, right? Just have to spout and shout and scream and rep what they believe.
Yeah.
And I'd say maybe that was between 10 and 20, maybe 25%. The other 75%, we'll call it, we're just quiet about it.
Yeah.
I was one of those. I am one of those.
Yeah.
I know how I think and I feel. And no, big surprise, I'm not a Republican. And also big surprise, no, I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. I don't fall solely on one side or the other. I don't personally think the two-party system that we have in the U.S. is conducive to change. But how did we go from that 25% who were the screamers and the 75% who were the, hush? How did we go from there to now where we are today, where it went from you need to stop the COVID, you need to save us, to those same people turning around going, well, I'm not taking a vaccine.
Right.
And how did a pandemic become political? And how did we get so divided?
Well, I will say I don't think it's just the pandemic. Especially
no.
From what I see up in Canada of what's going on down in the States, there's a lot of very polarizing discussions that are going on.
On all fronts.
Abortion, pandemic,
social rights,
civil rights, stuff that's going on with Biden in Afghanistan right now. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh my God.
But I feel like we need to go back to when COVID started.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go back to social media when COVID first started. I wasn't on Instagram in the way you were at the time.
No.
I had my own private personal account just for posting, butt pics and stuff of myself.
Speedos.
No, G-strings, because you get full cheek.
Yeah.
But
what a time to be alive.
What was it like when COVID first hit and like the Instagram community started like talking about it?
To be honest, I don't remember right away. It was a lot of fear mongering.
Like, don't let them tell you what to do or what you can do. Or it's like, you're all going to die.
You're all going to die.
You're all going to die.
Yeah, basically, from what I remember. And this might be the pages that I had been following or that had been featured in my feed. I follow a lot of healthcare professionals.
Really?
Yeah, nurses, a lot of nurses. Just between friends of mine as well as professional accounts that at that point, my cousin was very concerned with things going on. Right. I was very concerned. I
think you and me were in the same camp and have been in a lot of ways. Yeah. I guess my point was I don't know what it was like when I started or when it started, but I know how it was when I came on around June, July of last year of 2020. I feel a lot had changed at that point. We all thought we were coming down the bell curve, and things were getting safer and things were reopening. So there wasn't as much COVID this, COVID that.
Right. I follow also with the accounts that I follow a lot of polarizing accounts, like very one way or very the other.
Do you follow Amy Poehler by any chance? Because she's a Poehler account.
No, I don't follow her. I should, but I don't. I don't know why. I really like her, but I
sorry.
like people that
I couldn't help myself.
What?
I said I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. You said you follow very Poehler accounts, and I said, do you follow Amy Poehler? God, Andy, way to ruin the joke.
What are we going to do with you? No, I should, though, actually. Anyways, I follow people who are very much, if you are not taking heed of the restrictions and the lockdown, and I don't have any time for you, we won't be friends after this goes away.
So you followed a lot of those accounts? Did you follow a lot of accounts similar to it in the opposite respect?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so. And
so you were news gathering through social media, which is how you should get all of your news.
Yeah. And like we don't have cable here, so I don't watch the news. Like we don't get the newspaper, so
right.
Like, through social media is a lot of where
you can get a digital newspaper every day, right?
It's funny you say that because I actually tried and submit to a subscription for it for like our local paper and couldn't get it to work. Like we could not log in to get this like digital subscription, and I was just like, I give up. That's how I am with technology. I gave up.
I'm paying for the paper all these years, but they keep stealing it.
Yeah, off of my phone.
Right.
But so, and like I find also like you and I being in a very blue collar community that a lot of those sentiments tend to go more towards the fear mongering and they're taking away our freedom and that kind of stuff.
There's an amazing South Park episode where the people from the future come back in time and are like the quote unquote immigrants or illegal aliens.
Oh boy.
And they started taking all the jobs that nobody wanted. Right? Very much so how the United States works. We take a lot of immigrants and they do the jobs that nobody's wanted. Everyone's had a turn along the, social, economical train. But where was I going with that? Oh, illegal aliens. They came back in time, these future people, and started taking all the jobs. And everyone's rally cry was, they stole our jobs. They stole our jobs, right? And instead of incorporating how can we get those jobs or how can we work with these people to assist them, their solution was, well, let's all the guys get naked down by the portal where they come in and just start humping until they stop showing up.
Seems like a solution. Not a good one.
And that's kind of how I feel about social media in terms of getting news. It's because you're only getting those 25%, the screamers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you have to
you talked about
what you're reading, right? Because like there's no
there is no news anymore.
No.
There's only a very curated viewpoint. Fake news on both sides.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah.
As soon as we stopped having, news reporters and papers that weren't owned by private interests, everything changed at that point. But being on the job site, and you talked about it a little bit, like the blue collar community, right? Mm-hmm. Just because the collar I wear is blue does not mean what I think and how I feel. Okay. Recently I went down and I was having lunch with my father. And I was hanging out with my mom and my dad at the house before me and him ran out to the diner to get some lunch. And I was telling him about the idea for this episode because it was right after I had talked to you. Literally, I'm talking to you, I was on the way to their house. And I told them about my idea, and they were like, I told them about the story. I don't know if I've said it in here before, but I was working for a company, and it was around the time Trump got first elected. And it was the lead up to his election. And one of the helpers turned to me and said, I hope you know everyone at this company will be voting for Trump. Like, assuming that I was either going to vote Trump or I was going to play ball.
Right.
And I just turned to him and I was like, well, I don't know if everyone's going to be doing that. Like, not even leaning either way, just being like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
And I told that story to my folks, and my dad goes, well, Evan, when I see a guy like you wearing a hat and a beard and sunglasses and or the sunglasses on top of the hat. And he said that specifically. He goes, I unconsciously and unbiasedly, subconsciously assume that they feel, think, and act that way.
Yeah. Well, I will say a lot of us perhaps come by it a little honestly. We did work through a lot of it. Not that nurses and doctors didn't, but a lot of our blue collar brethren worked through the worst of it. And
yeah.
So
a lot of the time unnecessarily.
Yeah. But I find I was on job sites that as soon as they put their measures in place, put our hand washing stations, got soap and all that a lot of those protocols kind of went out the window. And I know me personally, in those situations, I didn't run into anybody who actually contracted COVID. I know people who caught it and weren't doing well from it, but not in those situations. So I understand from that standpoint, you're not seeing it with your own eyes. So how am I supposed to believe this? But for me, I don't understand how people talk about their being experts in their field. I'm an electrician. You shouldn't have your weekend warriors coming in and doing electrical on other people's houses. But you have professionals in the scientific community and doctors and nurses and people working for the CDC doing these kinds of research for years, not just on COVID specifically, but on SARS, swine flu, the flu that we have every year, a flu shot. I don't understand why people have such a high regard for their own profession, but people who have gone to school for this and this is what they've done and this is what they study and this is what they know, all of a sudden it's out the window. These professionals are discounted as not knowing what they're talking about, or they're pawns of the government.
Why do you think that sentiment started? Or how do you think that sentiment started?
What do you mean?
In everything, there's a way something happens, right? The way it is. And the linchpin is how it became the way it is. What made it okay for people to do things a certain way. So where did the science being discredited start from?
I think a big part of it, and maybe it's not necessarily where the science being discredited comes from, but I think a big part of it might be the lockdowns and the worry about the economy. People not being at work, but then people who are at work aren't seeing firsthand these actual cases and are not making the association that, okay, I'm not seeing these, but people still are at work.
Is that outside of my house or your house?
That is your house.
What the fuck? Must be fucking tea time.
So I don't know if it has the direct correlation, but that's the only thing I can see in my mind.
Yeah.
I will say my mom was a nurse growing up. My mother-in-law worked for companies that worked on getting the paperwork and worked on getting all of this stuff for drugs and experimental drugs and those kind of the processes that go through it. So I kind of see not both sides, but those two sides, people actually working in healthcare. My mom just retired last year, but she was a nurse working through COVID. How scary is that? I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Well, I think there's another part to why the science is seemingly discredited, or whatever you want to call it. It is political. And I'll make no qualms about it. I did not vote for Trump. I didn't like either candidate, to be honest. I would have voted a third party way if I didn't feel that the vote just would have been thrown away and basically would have helped the Republicans and hurt the Democrats.
Right.
So I voted for the best interest of the country, not the best interest of me. Okay? Because I believe it is my civil duty to vote. I've shared about it a little bit here before, but I have a sordid past. Believe it or not, I've been in trouble with the law, which has hurt me in a lot of ways. One of which, for the first 8 years, I know that I was able to vote. I wasn't able to vote.
Really?
Yeah, because in New Jersey, if you're on probation or parole, you're not allowed to vote.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was forever. I thought it was a forever thing. And then somebody like 8 years later was like, you can vote. And I'm like, no, you can. Not if you have X, Y, and Z. And they're like, no, as long as you're no longer on parole or probation. So like I said, political. No, I did not vote for Trump. He was my president because he was the president of the United States, but I do not think he ever should have been. But I think when he started calling it the China flu and started discrediting scientists, internationally recognized Nobel Peace winning fucking scientists on what their research is finding on the spread, transmission, incubation period and times, the correct treatments.
Yep.
I think once Trump opened the door, that 25% to 75% went 50-50.
Yeah. Or at least got louder.
Well, it was being amplified through people. And social media had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
And what's come along with that, I think that opened the door to the people being so against the vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, people actually believe that getting a vaccine, that they're putting a tracker in your body. Like, we have...
And carry one around every day.
Yeah, like, hello. But, like, let's pause this conversation for a second. We're going to come back to it. Let's look at how health standards have continued to change over the centuries. Okay? Again, no research here, but if I had to take...
We'll start with just leading into that. We'll remember that there is a pandemic that happens every 100 years.
Right, it's called the 100-year pandemic.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the 100-year flood.
Yeah.
So, wait, you got me.
Sorry.
I was going to say, at least myself, I don't have research numbers for this stuff, but I'm taking estimated guesses, okay? So every time there's a pandemic, whether it's Spanish flu, polio, you name it, whatever, the plague, which was, the black flu, or Black Death, how many advances in hygiene, social acceptance, social kind of importance on it, both for maintaining, being near somebody, but more so to stop the spread of disease, right? We stop the spread of disease by doing X, Y, and Z. I guarantee you after the last pandemic, a lot of things changed.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Look at this. When you work at a restaurant, you're supposed to wash your hands after touching everything, right? When you and me, we work in the trades, but we work in production facilities sometimes. I've worked in a lot of food production facilities, right? All the steps and procedures, let's not even say pandemic-wise. Let's just talk industry standard-wise that have changed over the last 40 years. Mm-hmm. Look at how we pasteurize our milk. Like, we raise fish like in salmon, bays. Like, somebody posted something funny. It was a report card and said, this was your vaccination report card all through school. If you went to public school in the States in the last 30 years, 40 years, you were required to have certain immunizations as a child to go into school. I'm all for, I have a medical exemption because there's actually something medically wrong.
Yeah.
But the reason those people typically don't get sick is because the majority of the kids around them are all vaccinated. Herd immunity. But herd immunity is really only successful in small areas for short periods of time. Mm-hmm. And the other issue with herd immunity is it really only works in a very limited capacity. It's not 5 for 5. It's 9 to 1, 9.5 to a half. However, it has to be more extreme.
Right. Well, the aim of the herd immunity is more to prevent the spread, is it not?
Right. Prevent the spread.
Right.
Prevent the spread, and in the hopes of that working, stop it.
Right.
Now, with all of those immunizations you needed as a child in these states, I'm assuming it was fairly similar in Canada.
Yeah, we had immunizations that we had to have in order to stay in school.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, you
Public.
had that. Yeah, you had to have like your polio vaccine, and you had to have a tetanus, and you had to have a rubella, and all this stuff. Things that, if you ever go to work in healthcare as an adult, you have to get checked and revaccinated for because of the lifespan of those.
Right.
But all of these started out at one point as a fix to a problem that was currently happening.
A widespread problem.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Look at penicillin. People died before penicillin. I don't know. Wasn't
Canadian invention?
Canadian, American, whichever's better. So why? Listen, I feel like we keep going off in tangents. I think here's what I really wanted to say, and Andie can attest to me saying this to her when I came up with the idea for this episode. Was how do we get from here? My screen's a little different this time. How do we get from here back to at least here, if not here?
Yeah.
Right? 30, 40 years ago, people didn't discuss politics openly on a daily basis at work, at church, at a sporting event. And least of all, putting huge signs that stayed up year in and year out, telling people who you are and what you think is right, and not whatever they think, if not the same, is wrong.
Right.
How do we get back to live and let live? Let me believe what I want to believe, let you believe what you want to believe. And let's stop letting this divide us. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you.
I think everyone, I think the majority, it has to be like a herd. The majority have to start taking ownership of this. Yeah. The less we feed into the people who are hardcore, the less they'll be blown up with hot air. You know what I mean? Each one of us has to do our part. And that is basically a silent, not silent part. I'm in a couple of group chats on Instagram between different groups of people. Some of them have 15 people plus. And what I've liked about them so much is that, I mute them all. I get to them when I have time. But for the majority of them, all of them really, up until recently, had been completely non-political.
Yeah.
Okay. And we never talked about COVID and what do you think this is right or this is wrong? Just in this, we all took the outward response of, well, I just sure hope everyone is okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And somebody sent a message about 2-3 weeks ago, which maybe that was the linchpin for what this came to be, with a political meme.
Uh-oh.
And it was funny and it was this and it was that. I didn't super appreciate it because it didn't align with my viewpoint, but I didn't start going, oh, you're a fucking, you know what I mean? Here's what I said. I said, listen, guys, not trying to be that person, but this group chat has remained non-political this entire time. It would mean a lot if we could keep it a non-political arena.
Yeah.
I would rather us continue to be friends than to divide between who feels what and thinks what. Yeah. Right? And it was respected. And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
But how do we get back to respectfully shutting the fuck up?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
honestly don't know.
I hope. I have two really close friends. I'm not going to say their names. But no, it's not you. They are local, not in Canadian land. They're a couple. I'm super tight with both of them, and neither one of them have been vaccinated. Okay. They are, I guess, what you call the conscientious objectors, which is a term. Okay. That's called the gray area. You know, there's different terms. I'm going to go off on a small tangent. Give me a minute and then cut me off. There's, you know, I don't remember what I was talking about now.
Conscientious objectors.
Oh, conscientious objectors. You know, they don't have to be, you know, in different terminologies, you know, if you believe in God, you're a believer. If you believe there's no God, you're an atheist. But if you're not sure, you're an agnostic. They are an agnostic to the vaccine for the reasons that they don't trust the vaccine has been properly vetted, and it's on all medical reasons. And you know what? I respect them for this reason. In New Jersey, there's a law, a mandate that if you're not vaccinated, you still have to wear a mask everywhere, even though a lot of us who are vaccinated, like myself, still are wearing masks again indoors in like grocery stores and such because of the Delta variant. But in Jersey, you're supposed to wear a mask if you're not vaccinated, period. Nobody wears masks. And I guarantee you, and I know for a fact because I've had these conversations with them, that they go into stores unvaccinated, unmasked. You know, and it's like, when are we going to stop being so selfish? They wear their masks, my two friends, and I respect them for that. I don't agree with them not getting the vaccine or not getting the vaccine yet, whatever they may choose, because no door's ever closed. You know, they may choose one day to do so, but no one knows. And I just hope that everyone is okay, and that's a genuine, like, I don't want to have to worry when I'm hanging out with friends, and are they going to get me sick and potentially kill my wife? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really a fun worry to be having.
No. And at the very least, how about let's just get back to some social decorum, for fuck's sake. I don't need to know your political views. I don't need to know what politician you hate. I don't need to know that you believe that no one should be vaccinated and the vaccination is a hoax and they're just planting trackers in us. Lizard people, flat earth theory shit. Go for it. Live your best life internally.
And I find, too, that there's a big difference between posting a meme and going on a rant or excessively talking about it, like,
yeah,
not letting it go. Like, I get that people want other people to understand their viewpoints because that's part of being in free countries, right? Like, but I also don't need to hear it over and over and over.
Yeah. Let's stop fighting about everything and let's let the non-political things be non-political. But most of all, shut the fuck up. I think I'm in the hopes, and I said this to you when I first posed this idea, and I think you shit your flannels, that if people listen to this episode and go, fuck these mofos, I'm never listening to them again, I'm going to go so far as badmouth them online. Okay, I can live with that. If the best thing that happens is that anyone who listens to this, or someone who listens to this, at least one person, can maybe change the way they think, be open to not that you're wrong and that they're right, but that you can coexist in a peaceful way. You know? And for those of you who do think like me and Andie do and feel the way we feel, hopefully this is a wake up for you to do your part. You know? Make America shut the fuck up again. Oh, that's going to be a fucking t-shirt. Oh, God, that's going to be a t-shirt. And I think with that, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we give them the tips?
No, I'm good.
Rock, paper, scissors, you go first.
I got one.
Okay.
Take some time for self-care. Like, that's been a big thing for me, as a lot of you guys might know. I really haven't been very active on Instagram lately, and it's coming from a spot of self-care, and like we were saying, like just some of the, I'm not going to say toxic because I don't think that's the right thing, but stuff that I just don't really agree with, and it got to a point where it wasn't really making me feel very good about myself, about what was going on. So I've taken a step back from my social media from a spot of self-care. So if you can do something, whether it's buying yourself some flowers or splurging on, I don't know, this pop or soda, whatever you call it. That you like.
Pop.
I call it pop. You call it soda, right?
Yeah.
What do you call it? Soda? Okay.
Soda.
Like splurging, giving yourself a
soda.
Soda. I would say take a bit of time to do some self-care for yourself, and for those around you. I know it's not self-care, but it always is nice to know someone's thinking about you and caring about you. So, especially when it's unprompted.
Yes.
Something nice for your loved ones. Buy your mom flowers. You know what? That's my new tip. Buy your mom flowers. Go do it right now. Get them sent to her. Trust me, you'll make her day.
No, I'm good.
Do it. She'd love it. You know who would love it? M. Buy M flowers.
I buy M flowers randomly all the time.
See, I love that. I don't get that.
Yeah. Okay, my tip is the less you think of yourself, the less angry you will be.
That's like contradicting mine. I'm saying think about yourself.
No. You're saying take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Thinking about yourself less is not the absence of taking care of self and thinking of self and what self needs. The less selfish you are, the less angry you'll be.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's hard to be angry at what other people have or what other people think when you're just thinking about what you don't have and what you think.
Yeah. I like it.
So that's just the tip.
Just 2 tips.
Two tips. Just in and out of your ear hole. Speaking of ear holes, how about a quickie?
I got it. Okay, you gotta go first.
How many questions do you have?
3.
All right, I have 2, so I'll think up a third. Let me get my list. Okay. What is something that is totally normal to do, but becomes very strange when you do it repeatedly?
There's certain words that saying them over and over and over, and I can't think of any, but
like road, fork.
There's so many words that if you say them over and over,
cantaloupe,
or like trying to spell something, and you're like, did I spell that right?
No,
yeah,
but this is like what other people see. Like if you do something once and it's like, okay, if you continue to do that act, people think it's like weird. Like
picking your nose.
I don't think picking your nose is weird at all.
If you do one, if you like have an itch or like whatever, you're like, okay, whatever. But if they're just like,
did you do one of those like where like you cover it up? I think you're scratching, but really your thumb is on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but then if you're like
scrape and pull,
6 times,
scrape, pull, flick.
Yeah. But like if you're doing that repeatedly, people are like.
I'm thinking if you're on the dance floor and all you have is the dice roll move, and you do that repeatedly over and over again.
That's super weird if you're not on a dance floor too.
Yeah. Okay. Question.
All right.
Hit me.
Evan, since you don't since you don't drink anymore or do drugs, what's your guilty pleasure?
Ooh. So I would want to say it's bacon, but that's not a guilty pleasure. And I'd also want to say it's those orange Hostess cupcakes, but that's not a guilty pleasure because I totally own those. Did you ever have the Lunchables as a kid? Do they have those up in Canada? I still, every once in a while, will buy 2 of the pizza Lunchables with the Capri Sun and just go ham while watching, like, cartoons or some shit.
Just take your right back.
Yeah.
It was funny, actually. It was funny you say the Lunchables. I saw, like, a meme a while back, and it was somebody who bought, like, a crap ton of them and made a charcuterie board with them.
Yes.
It was like, I was
like, oh. M gets mad at me. M gets mad at me because I call them pizza makeables. And I legit like said that so many times I thought I just believed it was the name. She went grocery shopping once. I'm like, get me 2 of the pizza makeables, but all the cheese, no pepperoni. She's like, I don't see anything called pizza makeable. I'm like, you've seen them. Blah, 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 blah. So, fast forward. You mean Lunchables? I'm like, no, pizza makeables. They're the pizza ones. And she's like, yes, these. I'm like, yes.
You set her up for failure.
Well, in my defense, when we started dating, I sent her into a 7-Eleven. She wanted to get water, and she's like, do you want anything? I said, yeah, give me an Arizona iced tea, like the can.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
It's like, just get me a regular one. Now, Andie, if I say a regular one to you, what flavor am I talking about?
Lemon.
Yeah, just regular lemon fucking iced tea. She comes out with a green tea one. And I'm like, why? And she's like, this is the regular. And I'm like, no, it's not. She's like, well, this is what we always had in my house. I'm like, but your house isn't regular.
I'd have to say mine. I really like
Pop.
Yeah, and then I love Chinese noodles, like just plain.
Oh, lo mein?
Yeah, even udon I don't mind. But
okay, another guilty pleasure is I'll buy ramen, and I won't flavor it, and I'll just throw some butter and some salt on there.
Noodles?
Like ramen noodles, like the little bricks, like they're like
Mr.
this
Noodles?
tall and like this thick. Yeah,
and they come with like a flavor packet.
yeah. I don't flavor pack that shit.
Did you ever eat those raw?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fucked up like that.
Yeah. Well, we were told that we had to stop eating them raw because they'll give you worms. No idea if that's true.
I just picture my cat Sadie when she had little white worms coming out of her butthole.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll stop eating those raw now.
We thought it was a piece of rice the first time, and we got real close to it, and then it started wiggling, and I go, no! I'm just running away. All right, is it my question or your question?
It's yours.
Okay. Okay, this is the one I'm going to make up right here, right now. How many flannels do you own?
I have pajamas. I have a house coat. And then I've got at least probably 5 or 6 shirts of different patterns.
So we'll say 8. Now, is your pajamas a 2-piece or is it a onesie?
I've got one of each now that you say that.
So let's add another one. That's 9. Do you have any flannel hats or scarves or gloves, underwear, socks?
Socks, yes.
10.
Probably 1 pair. That would be about it.
Okay.
I think, yeah. No hats, surprisingly. No scarves.
Okay.
No. Oh, I have 1 jacket.
11.
Yeah.
I don't have anything with flannel because fuck Canada.
Oh,
No.
One of my best flannels is from Vermont.
Damn straight it is. Damn straight it is. It's like a moose's butthole. Just like a moose's butthole.
Shrinks up and just like
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last your second question.
And then what is your favorite thing that you own?
Like clothing wise?
Sure.
You have to narrow it down. Give me a category.
Okay, let's do 2. Let's do clothing, let's do tools. Because we haven't talked about tools in a while.
No, we haven't. What are those? Clothing. It would probably be these pair of corduroy jean cutoff shorts that used to be work pants that I cut my leg open on my kneecap and was pouring blood out into my boot. And they had to cut the leg off, so I just cut the other one off. And all of the corduroy has worn off, so it's just little lines. Got like fucking PVC glue and like, yeah, it's got like PVC glue stains and like. But I wore them to Dead & Company the other night, and I wore them in every state I've ever been, which is almost, I think it's 48 of them.
Wow. Or
47. So, and tools. Oh, bless you. I don't know. Tools. Again, give me a category. Hand tools, power tools, electrical tools. Hand tools.
Mine are my Klein linesmen. I freaking love them. Just at
Uh,
that point where they're like not sticky when they open and like
just loosey goosey, yeah.
which I need because my hands are too small. If they open all the way, I can't like.
Yeah, I'd probably say either my Klein linesman, my all yellow handle ones,
Yeah, that's mine too.
or my Klein 11-in-1 nut driver, which is my logo.
Yeah.
How about you?
I like my Kleins. My Klein yellow dipped handles actually are sitting in my truck right now. They're like one of, yeah. And then favorite clothing, I have a couple of Roots sweaters that I really like. They're so comfortable.
They're made out of roots?
Yep. I'm gonna bring you one when I come down to visit you.
Ooh.
Years.
Years.
Well, we still have our borders closed. So.
Yeah. Stay up there, y'all snow people.
Yeah, I'll bring you a nice warm root sweater. And I like my flannels.
Okay. All right, my last question. What word or phrase can be added before a word to make it sound Harry Potter-ish?
Do you have one in mind?
Oh, yeah, there's one in particular. And I feel like you're a little bit of a Harry Potter nerd like my wife.
Yes and no.
Okay, you're dead today. Just move on with the question. I was
so much of a Harry Potter nerd that I refused to watch the movies because the books were so much better.
You got to watch the movies, Andie. If you come down here, I'm going to strap you to a chair and forcibly open your eyes with duct tape and make you watch all 8 of them in a row.
If I had somebody that I could watch them with, I would. It's just like it's a long series.
Watch them with Adam, and every time they do a spell, have him take a shot. He'll be out cold by like the 4th to 7th minute.
And then I'm watching it by myself again.
But he's there. He's a body pillow.
Yeah, that's true. He's a body pillow.
So what's the word or phrase?
I don't know. All I have in my head that keeps cycling, through my head is like, it's Leviosa.
So you add Wingardium to the beginning of any word. I came up with this at the show the other night. Someone was being a real douche, and I'm like, it'd be great if that balloon just banged him in the head, because people were like throwing balls and balloons around. I went, Wingardium Duchosa, and then a balloon like hit him in the back of the head. And then we've just been using it around the house. Cat vomit. Yeah. Happy Christmas, Andie.
Okay.
So, yeah.
For my last question, Evan, what is something that you got to do a lot of that you didn't have time for before we went on our break?
I don't know. It's been a weird period for me these last 2-3 months.
Yeah.
2 months coming up, yeah.
Well, you've been out on your kayak, right?
We've been going out in the kayak a bit more.
Volleyball.
Yeah, playing volleyball. Oh, that's been a big one. Yeah.
Because, should I just answer this question for you? Or?
Yeah. I don't know. I got to just not have to worry about scheduling anything.
Yeah.
And I could just kind of be very free. It's like if I'm reading and studying, and then I'm just like, I want to go out to the tent and do some furniture building, and then I get tired of that after an hour or two, and I'm like, I want to go play video games. And then Guardium Pufiosa goes the time. How about you?
I've been reading a lot.
Yeah.
But like pleasure books as well as.
Wickle, wickle, wickle. You said pleasure books.
Yeah, like things that interest me. Not
like the ones with like the half-naked guys on the front of, and it's like a romance novel.
Attractive romance novel.
It makes 50 Shades of Grey seem PG.
Yeah, that's what I'm into.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll see you next week.
Because we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Still don't have a guest for next week, but we do our best. From behind. Both
easy now.
I'm just saying, we come together well. So from all of us and Kim, to all of you, just kindly shut the fuck up.